You just ate breakfast an hour ago, maybe an hour and a half, and yet, here you are, standing in front of the fridge or eyeing whatever's on the kitchen counter. That pull in your stomach that says, eat something, again. You've probably told yourself you have no willpower, or that you just love food too much, or that your metabolism is broken somehow. But here's the thing. Scientists just figured out that none of that is true. The real reason you feel hungry all the time has almost nothing to do with food, and everything to do with what's happening inside your brain, right now, today, without you even realizing it. And once you understand what's actually causing it, you're going to see your hunger in a completely different way. Because you're not broken. You're just responding to signals you were never meant to receive this many times a day. I want to tell you about someone we'll call Sarah. She's 34. She's careful about what she eats. Whole foods, not too much sugar, she meal preps on Sundays. She works out a few times a week. By every measure, she's doing everything right. But Sarah is hungry, constantly, not just a little peckish. We're talking about a gnawing, distracting, almost anxious kind of hunger that doesn't go away, even an hour after a full meal. She thought it was stress. Then she thought maybe she wasn't eating enough protein. She tried intermittent fasting for 6 weeks. She cut carbs. She ate more fiber. Nothing worked, so she signed up for a study at a research university, one that was specifically looking at why healthy people feel chronically hungry. And what the researchers found in her blood work and in her brain scans genuinely surprised them. It wasn't her diet at all. It was 3 specific triggers that were quietly sending hunger signals to her brain around the clock, signals that had nothing to do with whether her stomach was full or empty. And the wild part? Most of us are dealing with all 3 of them every single day. Now, before we get into those 3 triggers, I want you to shift how you're thinking about this. Because most of us have been taught that hunger is a stomach thing. Your stomach empties, you get hungry. You eat, it fills back up, the hunger goes away. Simple as that, but that's only half the story. And honestly, it's the less important half. The research we're talking about today points to something much more interesting. Your hunger isn't just regulated by your stomach, it's regulated by your brain. Specifically by a tiny region called the hypothalamus, which acts like a hunger thermostat. It reads signals from your body and your environment, and it decides when to turn the hunger dial up. And here's where it gets fascinating. That thermostat can be triggered by things that have nothing to do with food, things like light, stress, sleep. And the researchers found that in modern life, with our phones, our schedules, our sleep habits, we are accidentally cranking that dial up all day long. Okay, trigger number 1. And this one is going to make you think twice about what you do first thing in the morning. When light, specifically blue light, hits your retina, it sends a signal straight to the hypothalamus. Now, your brain evolved to use that light signal as information about the time of day and the energy demands of your environment. In nature, bright light meant it's daytime, there's food to find, energy is needed. And so, your brain responded by activating your appetite. That was useful when we were waking up to actual sunlight. But now, the first light that hits most people's eyes in the morning is a phone screen at full brightness, loaded with notifications, emails, news, and your hypothalamus doesn't know the difference between that and high noon in the middle of a savanna. It just knows. Bright light. And it fires off hunger signals accordingly. One study tracked this directly. Participants who were exposed to blue light within the first 30 minutes of waking reported significantly higher hunger levels throughout the entire day compared to people who waited and got natural light first. And it doesn't stop in the morning. Every time you're on your phone or laptop, especially in the evening, you're sending that same signal again, telling your brain energy is needed. Eat. It's not your willpower. It's not your discipline. It's a reflex that's millions of years old, being triggered by a device that's about 15 years old. and nobody told us this was happening. Trigger number 2. And this one is sneakier than the first, because it disguises itself as something else entirely. You know that feeling when you've had a stressful morning, back-to-back meetings, bad news in your inbox, maybe a difficult conversation, and suddenly, all you want to do is eat, and not a salad, something dense and comforting and immediately satisfying? Most people call that emotional eating. They blame themselves for it. But here's what's actually happening inside your body. When you're under stress, even low-grade background stress, your adrenal glands release a hormone called cortisol. And cortisol's job, evolutionarily speaking, is to prepare you to deal with a threat. It floods your bloodstream, raises your heart rate, and activates your appetite. Why? Because if you're being chased by something, you're going to need fuel. The problem is, your body can't tell the difference between being chased by a lion and staring at a screen full of unread emails. The stress response is the same. Cortisol goes up, and your hypothalamus gets the signal. Danger is near, eat now, store energy. So that desperate, anxious hunger you feel after a hard morning, that's not weakness. That's cortisol. And in a world where most of us are running at a low hum of stress almost constantly, that hunger signal is running almost constantly too. The researchers in Sarah's study found that her cortisol levels were elevated from roughly 8 a.m. until well into the afternoon, every single weekday. Not because of anything dramatic, just the steady drip of a modern workday. And her hunger levels tracked it almost exactly. And the third trigger, this one might be the most important of all. Sleep. Not total sleep deprivation. We're not talking about pulling all-nighters. We're talking about the kind of sleep most adults actually get. 6 hours instead of 7. Broken sleep, restless nights. Sound familiar? Here's what happens hormonally when you don't sleep enough. Your body produces a hormone called ghrelin. That's the one that makes you feel hungry. And a separate hormone called leptin. That's the one that tells you you're full and satisfied. In a well-rested body, these two work in balance. But after even one night of poor sleep, ghrelin goes up, leptin goes down. You wake up hungrier than usual, and your brain's ability to recognize that you're full is genuinely impaired. What that means in practice is this. You can eat a complete, balanced meal, and your brain will not register that you're satisfied. So you keep eating, or you feel hungry again 40 minutes later. And again, you blame yourself for it, but it wasn't a lack of willpower. It was a sleepless Tuesday. Researchers found that people who averaged even just 1 hour less sleep than their optimal amount consumed, on average, around 300 extra calories per day. Not because they chose to, because their biology was running on a broken signal. Think about that over a week, over a month. It adds up quietly in the background, while you're blaming yourself for choices that weren't really choices at all. Okay, so here's what actually works. And I want to be honest with you. These are not dramatic hacks. They're not supplements or biohacking protocols. They're genuinely simple shifts that work because they address the actual root cause of each trigger. Fix number 1, the morning light window. For the first 20 minutes after you wake up, don't look at your phone. Instead, get natural light. Open a window, step outside, sit by a bright room. Even on a cloudy day, outdoor light is many times brighter than a phone screen, and your hypothalamus responds to it very differently. Natural morning light tells your brain, it's a new day. Your energy needs are normal. Hunger can wait. Participants in research studies who made this one shift reported feeling noticeably less hungry throughout the rest of the day within just a few days of starting. 20 minutes. That's the window. Fix number 2. 3 breaths before you eat. This one sounds almost too simple, but the science behind it is solid. Before every meal, before you take the first bite, take 3 slow, deep breaths. In for 4 seconds, hold for 4, out for 6. That's it. What this does is shift your nervous system from a stressed, activated state into a calmer, more receptive one. Cortisol drops. Your digestion activates properly. And crucially, your brain becomes much better at reading the signals that tell you when you're actually full. People who practice this consistently in clinical trials ate less, not because they were trying to, but because their body's satiety signals started working the way they were supposed to. Fix number 3. Move your last meal earlier. Not dramatically. Even shifting dinner 45 minutes earlier than usual gives your body more time to begin digesting before sleep. This protects your deep sleep cycles, which protects your leptin levels, which means you wake up with your hunger hormones actually in balance for once. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be a little earlier than it is now. And here's what the research found when people combined all 3 of these shifts together. Not perfectly, not obsessively, just consistently. Their chronic hunger levels dropped significantly within 2 weeks. Without changing what they ate, without counting calories, without a single new supplement. Remember Sarah from the beginning of this video? After the study, she didn't overhaul her diet. She didn't join a new program. She just started protecting her mornings from her phone. She started taking 3 breaths before meals, and she moved dinner a little earlier. Within a month, she told the researchers something that I think a lot of us will understand. She said for the first time in years, she felt like she was back in control, not because she was forcing herself to eat less, but because the noise had quieted down. The constant pull toward food just wasn't as loud anymore. And that's really what this comes down to. You are never broken. Your brain was just responding, the only way it knows how, to a world it wasn't built for. Too much artificial light, too much low-grade stress, and not quite enough sleep. Those 3 things quietly stacking on top of each other, day after day. Now, you know what's actually happening, and knowing is where it starts. If this video helped you see your own hunger a little differently, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed. There's a lot more of this kind of thing coming. Research that reframes what we think we know about our own bodies, explained in a way that actually makes sense. And drop a comment before you go. I want to know, which of the 3 fixes are you going to try first? The morning light, the breathing, or the earlier dinner? I read every single one. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching True Health Tales. If this helped you, smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss the next truth.